Welcome, students. I'm so excited to have you in this class this semester, and I wanted to introduce myself and tell you a little bit about myself before we get started. I'm originally from Michigan, and I've come down here about almost 8 years ago with my entire family. And by entire family, I mean all the people that you'll see in the picture. This is a weekly occurrence at my house, and family is probably the most important thing to me. And throughout the semester, I'm sure you'll find that's true. And I recognize that's not just because I'm Italian. I know many of your cultures do the same thing. Greeks, Haitians, Irish, it doesn't matter where you're from. Family is always very important. 18 of us moved down here 8 years ago, and we live in the same neighborhood in Wellington, so we're not too far. And I have the most wonderful kids. I have 4 children: Caesar, my oldest, Aurelius, Maralisa, and Michelangelo. Caesar, why don't you come on up here? I've actually got my son with me in the recording studio today. So I'm bringing this guy up here. This is my cool 10-year-old. And on the back of his shirt, you can see it says Palm Beach State alumni, just like you guys will be shortly Palm Beach State alumni. He's got a few more years until he's done, but he'll be there. Go ahead and have a seat, Caesar. This kid is a superstar. He loves hockey and basketball and all kinds of cool things, and he's incredibly smart in school and 10 years old. My 8-year-old is a little sarcastic one. He's a little bit more like me and concerns me the most. He has a sharp sense of humor, and he's a star soccer player. My 5-year-old, little girl who just started kindergarten, is just a joy, and she's the boss of everybody, that's for sure. My 10-year-old's nodding in agreement. And my 2-year-old is the little angel, this kid. He's just a lap baby, and he likes to sit and just be carried around by mama. That's all he enjoys doing. I've been married for 15 years, almost 16, and I lived in Sin 6 years before that just to make sure it was right before we did this. And ultimately, when I think about the things that I enjoy most in life, I've told you the first thing that guides me, which is my family. The next one that guides me are my students. And you can see that I truly enjoy students and working with students. I love seeing all the great things that you do. I love having you in class. I love talking to you. I love your diversity, and I love all the fun things that you end up bringing to a course like this. And in an online or hybrid course like this, it makes it more interesting because you contribute quite a bit of your experience to the discussion board and to the things that we do in class, which make an incredible difference. The other things I like to do are cook. You saw the big family table picture. This is what they eat. So on a weekly basis, usually I'm cooking Italian food, but I try to cook all different things, which usually end up more like Italian food. And that's what we enjoy together. So I do enjoy those types of things. And I used to enjoy quite a bit of traveling and golfing before the kids. When I came here, I chose Palm Beach State College 8 years ago because it was the dynamic of people I wanted to be with the most. The students just like you, and this is why I enjoy being here. My first teaching experiences were varied. My first teaching experience was at Western Michigan University and at Kalamazoo College, which is a private liberal arts college. That's about $60,000 a year to attend. We only had 10 students in a class, and sometimes people would start with a poetry reading, and they'd have a guitar as I was teaching, and everything was very existential. And then I would leave there, and I would travel to the state prison in Michigan, where I taught at the maximum security prison. I had 65 students at a time, and it was an incredible experience for me because I truly got to understand the value of education from the very basic perspectives of educating students in prison to educating people that were paying an incredible amount for their educations in a liberal arts environment. And I found that what I enjoyed best was working at a state college. That's why I ended up down here with the students that I'm fortunate enough to work with. Years ago, when my husband and I bought our first house, which was almost 20 years ago, which in Michigan, you're probably thinking here, that sounds incredible, but in Michigan, houses are much cheaper. We paid, I think, $68,000 for that house, and it was a big brick ranch with a 2-car garage. It was very nice. Needed a lot of work, though. It was owned by an old couple. I tell you this story because as you start this course thinking about health, one of the things you start to think about is your life expectancy. And when we think about life expectancy in the United States, and we already talked about this in the first module, life expectancy is about 77, which is clearly not long enough when you're considering the age that you're at now, and 77 thinking about your parents and grandparents. And that really truly is not a great life expectancy. So I bring you to the couple that we purchased our first house from, Richard and Ida Roof. Richard was 104 and he died mowing the lawn. Ida was 102 and I got to meet her. I was probably in my early 20s when we purchased this house, and when I introduced myself to her at the closing, she knew her social number, her checking account number, and her bank account number. And to think about these things as a 94-year-old person, or I'm sorry, a 102-year-old person was quite remarkable. She was like talking to a 40-year-old. And what I learned from her was how she lived such an incredible life that led to this life expectancy being extended nearly 30 years beyond what's expected from American life expectancy at 77. She lived an incredible life, and she had her own chickens, and she grew her own fruits and vegetables right on the property. Just to do that at their age was an incredible amount of physical exercise, which is one of your dimensions of wellness in your chapter 1. She was also incredibly intellectually strong. She read The Economist and Foreign Policy and all kinds of books and magazines that kept her and her husband on the cutting edge of what was going on in the world. So I hope once you're through with school, you won't discontinue your learning. You'll recognize this is the platform for you to spend the rest of your life being intellectually well, like we talked about in chapter 1. She was emotionally well as spiritually well. She contributed to her community in a way that was really remarkable. She gave at her church, and she worked with an abuse shelter. And she started one of the largest abuse shelters that there was in Kalamazoo, Michigan County, where I'm from. And from there, I didn't recognize the extent of the greatness that she had achieved throughout her life until she died a few short years later. In the meantime, when I met her, she asked me if I would finish this huge crossword puzzle that was on the wall in her bedroom. It covered the wall. It had been wallpapered everywhere. And it was a New York Times crossword puzzle with thousands of words, and she probably had 40 of them wallpapered deep. So I told her, of course, I'll finish your crossword puzzle. I said it kind of smugly because I thought you're really old and I'm really smart and young, so I'll finish it quickly. And she looked at me with a smile, like, good luck with that. And it took me a year and a half to finish it. And as a matter of fact, I think it was some random drunk guy at a party that came in and knew the last 3 words that I just could not figure out. So I called Ida and I said, Ida, I just wanted to call and let you know that I finished your puzzle. She laughed so hard. She wasn't laughing with me, she was laughing at me. And she said, I seemed a little smug when I told her I was going to finish it quickly. So this was a really sharp woman. When she died, I went to the funeral, and I remember bringing my sisters and my family with me because I thought no one's going to be there. When you die at now 104, who the heck is still alive? Nobody. So I thought we better go because not many people will arrive. So I showed up to a church expecting us to be a handful of people deep, and instead there were 4,000 people at this church that had overflowed into the parking lot, and they had to loudspeaker the service there. And as I looked around, I saw a sea of women and children. And I recognized the magnitude that she had given in service through her spiritual health, which we talk about in chapter 1, through her community and her church. And she had dedicated her life to helping those that were abused and in need, specifically domestic violence and battered children in the community. And they had all showed up that day to repay her. I tell you that story because I want you thinking of this course with a few purposes in mind. One of the purposes is you can read all the outcomes that I've written on your syllabus, which we've talked with professors about ad nauseum, and those mean very little. What means quite a bit is the outcomes that I'd like you to be able to use this course to live longer. I'm pretty certain there's no course you could ever take that could possibly extend your life. I say you'll live longer or die trying. In addition to that, I hope you die well, and more importantly, I hope you live well while you're here. And the only ways you can do that is to take this course to heart in the sense that all of the work that you complete has nothing to do with checking off boxes to get points. This isn't one of those courses. It's about taking every piece of information you learn from myself and from each other and from the book and from the material in Connect and being able to say, how does this apply to my life and how can this make me live 30 years past what my life expectancy is? If you are not intentionally on an everyday basis trying to live longer, you are dying sooner. So making a decision or the lack of decision to do something towards your health is a step towards death. And I know no one wants to think about that on the first day of class, but it seems like a really important way to start a semester in a health course like this, being able to figure out how you can not only succeed in the course, but how you can succeed in life. In the course, do your work. Come back on. Don't miss your due dates. Ask questions and get help when you need it. Seek me out so I can be there to assist you. And in life, do your best to continually remember that this journey of health is a fluid one, and ask yourself on a daily basis, are you making decisions that bring death closer or push your life expectancy beyond the outer limits of a healthy life so you can drop dead mowing the lawn like Richard Roof, shopping, having sex, golfing, or whatever it is that would end your life with the pinnacle of greatness to say that's an awesome life and that's an awesome death. Thank you for joining me in this semester. I look forward to having you all, and if I can help you in any way, always reach out and ask me. Thank you.